Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Needles, and you're listening to Lotro Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in Lotro and here at Lotro Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin,
Hi!
Senswinda,
Hello.
and Guerendis.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. We had another update this week, so let's find out what was in there. Obviously, it's a smaller one. Update 28.1.1. And news and notes. For items, the Mask of the Leaf Turner is now dyeable.
Yay!
Treats and trickery costumes that were applying twice to Bjornings should be fixed.
Okay, I will say what Orindis would probably say if she was here, because I kind of feel the same way right now. We need pictures of this happening. Because I wanted to see what that would look like. I mean, was it 2 copies of the same outfit? Is it 2 different outfits? What happened?
I was thinking maybe it's a copy of it in regular form, and then there's another one in their bear shape also.
That would be really funny.
Treats and trickery costumes that were causing characters to T-pose in water should be fixed.
That seems like it might have been a little awkward.
Yes. Boar mounts placed as housing decorations now play animations. As for quests and adventure areas, completing any missions quest will now award 5 motes of enchantment in addition to the Gabalaka war marks. A cap level weekly missions quest has been added for an additional source of embers of enchantment. This quest will automatically bestow if you're at level cap and do level cap missions. 10 new Elder Slave deeds tracking your completion of missions quest has been added and provide a source of Gabalaka war marks and virtue XP. Complete all of them to earn a new title, 10 of them. Now, so far it looks like that there are 20 missions per deed. So that means there'll be 200 missions in all in order to complete all 10. Well, I don't know if they increment it when you get into later ones. So far, the first 3 all have 20. It's possible they may up that up later. But assuming they don't change that, it looks like you need to complete 200 missions in order to complete all the 10th deed and get that title that they're talking about.
That seems like a lot of missions.
Yeah, that could be a lot of missions.
Would they offer, what, 8 a day?
8 a day, yes. The war effort missions for the cause weekly now awards 400 motes of enchantment, up from 200.
Yay! Except that those are motes?
Yeah.
Well, yes, they would have to be motes because a level 20 character can do missions as well as a high level character. March on Gundabad missions for the cause now awards 42 motes of enchantment daily, up from 20. So essentially, about doubling the number of motes you get from the wrapper quests for missions. And coming up in the future in 28.2, we will add new copper coins of Gundabad for Ember's quests.
So like they have at Minas Morgul. They had the Minnesithal, I should say. Minnesithal coins for embers. Now they'll have it for...
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's scheduled for 28.2. And I get the impression that 28.2 might come to Bulwer as soon as next week. We'll see whether or not they actually have managed to make that date. Instance, Shakalush the Stair Battle monsters should now spawn correctly in duo mode.
But I don't think duo mode's open. Still.
Yeah, so it's possible that there was still something else that was wrong that caused it from opening it up. But it looks like at least one of the bugs that they were worried about has been solved. We can only hope that they solve the other one quickly enough if it's still closed, and whatever's causing it to be closed is fixed soon. And as for known issues, missions characters of different levels in Fellowship Duos need to acquire every quest in the available quest category on an NPC in order to be able to see the available private encounters category, which is how you join Fellowship members already in a mission instance.
That seems a bit weird, but okay.
Yes, I think we talked last week about there being an issue relating to this, and I said I wasn't 100% sure exactly what you had to do in order to get around it. This is what you have to do in order to get around it: is to take all of the quests from that particular NPC, and at that point, that new category pops up. Because I think if you're the same level, you're able to just take the mission because you both take the mission since you're both eligible for it. But if one person opens up the mission, the other person doesn't see it because they're not the right level, and so I think the inside considers it to be a different quest. But yeah, it'd be nice if they get the available private encounters, maybe to pop up on top of the dialogue if your fellowship member is already entered. We'll have to hope that. Good. Yeah, we have to hope they get that resolved in the near future. And that's it for update 28.1.1. Now, as I said before, there's a possibility that 28.2 will be available for testing on Blower as soon as next week. I presume that they're doing the testing and see whether or not that's possible. And I think that's the update where they are slating to have some tweaks to stats for monster players. We'll have to see when those Bulwer release notes comes out, but I'm sure that some monster players will test that out to see how much.
And then whine about it.
What?
And then they will whine about it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the changes actually are, they will whine about it.
Right. If either the monster players will whine that it's not enough, or the freaks will whine that it was too much. And right. Sometimes they'll both complain and say the
yeah.
at the same time. If it's a perfect number, then they'll both complain. Right?
Right.
And they're also hoping that when they do this, that it'll give them the ability to make adjustments more easily in the future, which will be very, very useful, because if they can make it so it's very easy to make adjustments in the future, then we won't have to go through waiting 6 months before the monster players are ever anywhere near on par. Now we have Harvest Mass Festival has been extended until November 30th.
Yay!
And this was done because originally, when the Harvest Mass Festival was scheduled, a lot of people were saying, or at least when they were saying that it was going to be later this year than usual, apparently several people were saying they didn't want it to happen over the holiday weekend. So Standing Stone apparently that was the main feedback they heard. So Standing Stone Games decided, all right, we'll stop it before then. And of course, when they actually started the Harvest Mass Festival, that's when all the people who wanted it to continue on there finally spoke up. So, that's the impression I get. So yes, it has been extended until November 30th, so we go through the American Thanksgiving holiday. Then we have Lotro Beacon 181, where we have a nice picture of Gundabad on it. And when I was playing this week, and for the first time when I saw Gundabad, I mean, oh boy, that was... Moria doesn't look like much on the outside, because it's just this mountain here, but Gundabad, that looks impressive to me, at least. I don't know what you...
And from a distance was where I first saw it. Kind of came around an edge of a landscape, and you could see the gate spread out, and you could also though see the three peaks
Yeah.
above it, and it was just I took screen caps. I had to. It's like, whoop, stop and stare.
Stop and stare. Yes, that was most definitely a stop and stare moment. Thus, our header for this week's beacon is Gundabad. And this weekend was the Lotro Steam Marathon, where the streamers were going from noon till midnight. Actually, technically, there's still about 3 hours left on that on Twitch. But unless you're listening to the live show, it's unlikely you're going to be able to get there on time. Though, there will, of course, be
Video on
parts of
demand.
this that are going to be archived into the video, unless there are certain parts of it that were waiting or something like that. But the parts that are actually people actively playing, they're most likely have it on their highlights for the channel, or maybe been captured down to YouTube afterwards. L- Linda LA has updated the Musician's Complete Guide to ABCs. Read more about this incredible player-created guide on the Lotro forums. And Strimtom recently sat down with some of the Lotro dev team to talk War of the Three Peaks. Watch or listen to the interview on YouTube.
Keep meaning to do that, and I haven't yet. Got to make time.
Yeah. Paul Noluni presents The Last Hero, or it was just presented in The Last Hero. Actually, yeah, The Last Hero was on Laurelin today. You get more information about that player concert on the lotroartist.com, and there is a flyer below in the beacon. We can only hope that there is going to be a link at their site to an archive or something like that if you were thinking about going there and forgot about it. And the Indigo Hobbitses, the Indigo Hobbitses, let's see, it's Hobbitess? I'm not exactly
Hobbits.
sure what they. Okay, I guess. The Indigo Hobbits presents the Andrea Bocelli music during the November 12th on Crick Hollow. Concert details are on lotroartist.com, and of course there is a link in the beacon. Right, and that's the. Let's see, there you go again. And that was the Indigo Hobbits. And sign us for our underway for Winterfest. You can visit the Crick Hollow Music to learn more. If you want to nominate something for the community spotlight, you could send an email to contact@saintstonegames.com with the subject Community Spotlight. For our Kin Hall, Thunder Riders are recruiting anyone who wants to belong to a growing, welcoming, and friendly kinship on Crick Hollow. This social guild has a website, active Discord server, weekly events, raids, giveaways, and more. Find a member on Crick Hollow to learn more. And now for our weekly comment. If you were forced to be a Stable Master NPC, which NPC would you be and why?
I would be the Bree or Rohan woman in Dunland. Because I like Dunland, but I would stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh, yes, those Stable Masters. Anyone else have any ideas on that?
Well, I would be the one up at Zudragund that nobody ever uses. Because I like my solitude.
The one that Zujugun no one ever uses.
It's true. How often do you take a stable horse to Zudragund? Almost never.
Well, let's see. Only if I'm questing in Forhel. Or are we talking about a different situation? Oh no, that's one Nagmar you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one in
Oh.
Hell.
Oh, the other one is one in Hell. Let's see
I mean, you gotta go there for the epic, and there's a couple of quests in that area, but really, you don't use that stable hub very often.
right.
I mean,
On the way to nowhere else.
I take the stable there pretty often during a festival, but
Why?
for delivery in an nail league.
Oh,
There's a dwarf there, but I don't usually stable
but
out of
you
it
never
because I'm
take
usually
the
on a
stable
hunter.
out. Yeah, you stable there, but you never stable out.
Well, you'd
So
still
the-
have to be taking care of our horses, but at least we wouldn't talk to you.
Right, and as a dwarf, I would get to just stand around and drink beer all day. It's the perfect job.
Well, I know the one I wouldn't want to be after having watched Professor Corey the other night. I would not want to be the stable master at Vegbar because I'm going to guess that they're having to fill out forms all the time about how the guards are killing innocent people riding into the vales just trying to get a little sightseeing done,
Way
even
too
though
much
they are
paperwork.
under level, and the guards kill them. So I do not want that job because I don't want to do the paperwork.
Well, plus that area, they have a toll, and nobody wants to be responsible for that.
Well, there was a theory on stream that perhaps, I think Ponton Finberry had said in chat, that maybe it's because you haven't paid the toll that you got killed.
Oh.
Actually, they're pretty sure it's a bug because there's a point in time you could see the little video on the Signum U channel that the Bjorni guards can disappear. It's just their axes swinging and chasing people. So they're like Bjorning Bergs, which is even more confusing and kind of amusing. It's
And
been
the
passed
OP
on to
purples are getting even more OP.
I was just saying it's been passed on to QA. I'm pretty sure it'll get fixed. So yeah, go see that little clip on the Signum U channel because it's hilarious.
It'd be kind of fun to be the Hrimbarg stable master because, like, you take care of horses, and anytime somebody comes to see you, you send them off on a goat. Assuming the goat doesn't get stuck behind the wall like mine did the other day.
Oh no.
I'm trying to think of one that I would want to be. How about one into some place that isn't constantly under attack? Somehow I
that'd
don't
be
think
good.
I'd want. Yes, because I don't want to be one in.
So someplace like Mickle Delving or Hobbiton?
Well, yeah, I was thinking someplace like Mickle Delving or Hobbiton might be a good idea. Especially considering I tend to play Hobbits, so.
And you know, Mickle Delving is a very useful place to be.
Yes. Very useful place to be. Let's then head into our fan site news. Material Middle Earth presents Autumn Leaf Fashion. Check out the new fashion items on a blog dedicated to outfits for Lotro. And anything you guys say about this, Terry?
No, because I totally missed that listing in the Beacon and I didn't go look.
So this is using some of the Fall Festival cosmetics in there. So showing some of those off.
I will make the comment that it's been frustrating that they haven't always offered footwear that goes with the new outfits. And I kind of like the boots that they have for the tunic of the leaf turner, except they're like heavy armor wearing, and those look weird on my elf's legs. So I'm back to square one again. Well, they do. They look like 7 Mile boots or something. Like I stole them from Puss in Boots, and I'm gonna like take a huge leap with them because they're like oversized for the legs. But anyway,
Yeah.
First world Lotro problems.
Yeah, minor little detail there. Then Game Reveries Learning Lotro series continues with Crafting Guilds. Find lesson 37 on the Gamer Reverie blog. And Deco Malou has an updated guide to rewards for the Harvest Math Festival. You can see screenshots on their website, right? All these little decorations there. And of course, they're all spooky things, it looks like.
I have to say, I never knew that the decorative gourds had a ghost if you used the gourds. As soon as I saw a picture, I'm like, I've got to have it. Why did nobody tell me this?
I really love their description too. Nothing spooky here.
Nope. Nothing spooky here. Oh well. Then let's head on to. Ooh. Oh, there's a beacon there. Yes. Fiber Jedi has you covered with a complete guide to the Harvest Math Festival. I think we discussed that last week, and so it's also made the beacon on there. So you could check his guide on his blog. And Lotro Stream is your first stop to find Lotro on Twitch. This week, Balviel heads to war. Michael DK2 streams from Evernight, and Druid's Fire rambles in Rohan. And also on Twitch, the Dwaro Scholar wakes up with Lotro. Pantheist Heathen goes on a burglar journey, and Endang Fire delves into the War of Three Peaks. What, did he change the name of his channel or something?
That is Ande, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
that
while
is
back,
it.
actually.
Mm-hmm. And over on YouTube, Zega confronts Mazog, Elder Gamer Girl defends Archet, and Louis 7 has the latest news. And last week, we brought you Ghosts. For our screenshot of the week, Campanula takes this lovely screenshot with her new War Steed appearance. Thank you for sending us in. You can email your screenshot contender to lotro@standingstonegames.com. And that's it for the news for this week. And our store news is next. And Terry, what's for sale?
Well, the weekly coupon gets you a free plus 2,000 Virtue Acceleration Tome with coupon code bonus virtue now through November 12th. And it's our final weekend to get Bomber's Bounty in the Lotro store through November 8th, so through tomorrow. So sorry for people who aren't catching this live. And 20% off vaults and shared storage, inventory slots, and currency cap now through November 12th.
Whee! Let's then head into our site news, where we have Chapter 13 of A Berg's Tale, where our hero, who probably tries to avoid being called a hero as much as possible.
A rescue mission.
Yes, he is sent on a rescue mission to rescue a damsel in distress, I guess, is the best way to describe what he is set out to do. So
Which is funny because actually most of our rescue missions in the game are not damsels in distress. Because I just did one and it was a dwarf. Yeah, so really not a lot of, weirdly, not a lot of rescuing damsels in distress. Because we have Rob Thornley and you've got, is it Dory in the North Downs?
Yeah, Dory in the North Downs during the epic, yeah.
There's a tree
There's the tree.
Yes.
Well, there's a hobbit lass.
Yes, but there is Violet. Yes. So we've got Violet, and we've got. Let's see. Her name was Mirabelle, was it? So we
Yeah,
have that.
Mirabelle.
Yeah. So there aren't too many of them, but there are capable. There are a couple here and there. I don't know whether or not you will call Lolly a damsel in distress.
I try not to think about Lalia.
you think of her as distress.
She's a hobbit in distress, but I don't know that I would count her as a damsel.
She's just very distressing.
She's very distressing.
She's very distressing. Yeah.
It's actually really funny because it's her own fault that she's even in distress. Unlike a lot of the people we have to rescue, it's not completely their own fault that they're in trouble. But yeah, so and you have the, well, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it.
Yeah.
But there's yet another reference to the silver 50 copper, because that's never not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Also, I was amused that Kenton Thistleway pays you a silver and 80 copper for this quest.
Yes.
So the prices are going up.
Prices are going up. Right. So if you want to catch the action to this latest chapter, then go to Lotro Players, where we have Chapter 13 of A Berg's Tale.
I'm trying to figure out a Price is Right joke, but I can't find one.
Oh. Then
Right yet.
Yeah. So Squirrel has a new article. Help! I'm 130. Update 28 appendix. Yes. The latest update dittoed into an expansion, and you can see what we have in there. Of course, this is the new Elder Slade's area, where he has a quest guide to Elder Slade, where he talks about 3 quest lines that lead to Anakrufu, and gives you all the introduction that goes into there. Talks about the gear, talks about the bartering options in there, and of course the discovery locations for the stairs and threshold, so that you will be able to go into those instances. And then of course talks about the stairs instance and the bloody threshold, and talks about embers, barters, and of course combining it all into one character. And that's his little guide into the Elder Slaves from Squirrel. And now, do we have a new player question this week? I'm going to take the silence as meaning I know.
I don't think we do.
No.
Very well. Then let's into our weekend Lotro. Terry Adwin, what were you up to?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit because it covers more than just this last week in Lotro. Missions. Actually, I haven't done lots of missions, but Terry did her first mission with not Sans and Pine Leaf, although we quested together up until that point, and then I volunteered to let them duo it, and I soloed the mission. But prior to that, I took Well Dressed in to go do missions, and it was really late when I was doing it, so I wasn't really paying attention, especially because I did it on a Monday, and I knew that the next day I was going to be playing through it with Sans and Pine, and we would be reading everything. So I'm all set to go, and I'm clicking through all of the things, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I get into the mission, and there's nothing there. There's no NPCs. There's no red dots. I don't know what I'm doing. And it says talk to the NPC, but I don't see the NPC. So I take off down the road.
Oops.
I have no red dots, but for some reason I'm starting to take damage as I go down, happily skipping down the road with my high elf champion. And I have no idea how close I actually got to where I really wasn't supposed to go before everything like rezzed in on top of me, and because it really rezzed in on top of me because apparently I aggroed like everything in the instance, and I killed a fair amount of it before they killed me. And when I
Oh boy.
retreated back to the beginning, there was the scoutmaster that I was supposed to talk to at the beginning who wasn't there the first time. And I talked to her and she says, we don't want to be on the road because we don't want to attract attention. Oh, okay. Oops.
Now, once she left the road, were you able to keep track of her, though? Because I kept losing her, and there was no way to find her again, except running all over the place.
Well, I followed pretty close behind her, and she didn't really run off on me. But when Terry did the mission, I turned my back for a second, and that dwarf was gone, and I had no clue where she was. I had to turn around in circles like 3 times, and then I went around the rock and I saw her. But yeah, they need to put some kind of quest indicator or something so that you have a vague idea of in which direction your NPC just took off. If you didn't actually like tooltip her or something, so that you can easily click on her. Because yeah, there's no real way to keep track of her, and you can lose her pretty easy.
I mean, I know she's stealthy, but I was trying to follow her.
Well, because I had made that mistake with well dressed and didn't wait for her, I made sure when Terry went in that I waited till everything had loaded. And then I talked to the NPC, and I mostly kind of followed her and just targeted through her, so that was okay.
Nice.
What were you saying, Pine?
I was just thinking that you don't have to worry about NPCs too often, since I think you only have an NPC with you during the story missions.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
Right. The regular missions, you are in there on your own. You don't need to talk to an NPC until the end. And even then, unless you're level cap, you don't have to worry about returning to the NPC. Because if you're at level cap, then there'll be a chest next to the NPC that you might want to leave before you leave.
Oh, well, that's good to know. I progressed further along the epic story with Galabrelith and Celeborn, so we decided we were kind of done getting cosmetics in Dunland, and so now they're focused on the Volume 3 epics, so we did a couple of session plays, and they're now in the East Wall. They actually just got there with Horn and Nona and Cornier. So that should be fun. They'll have worse deeds before Axley and friends. Sorry, not sorry, fans.
Hey!
I mean, technically, they already have worse deeds because they were both Vallard.
Oh, true.
But yeah, they'll be going through that quest line fairly.
I mean, they totally wouldn't notice a dwarf sneaking along with them, right?
Yes, they would.
Oh.
And my Arkenstone Runekeeper finished up Volume 1, Book 4. But is too low level to join the rest of the Arkenstone group of the Misties. So then there was some skirmishing, not totally responsibly, and it was actually Pineleaf's fault that we weren't totally responsible.
Yes.
I know! It actually, but I don't know what happened. We got into that final boss fight, and like 2 people died almost immediately.
Oh.
And yeah, it was weird.
I would like to know, though, how that wasn't totally responsible, because when I left, you had 6 people for a 6-person...
We had 6 people for a 6-person skirmish, and most of them were in the 40s, except for my lowly RK was level 36. So we were running it at level 41, which was the next lowest character's level. The Guardian was level 41. And we were actually doing okay right up until that point.
Seems very responsible. I'm still
kind of
surprised.
Really sure. It just had to do with that last boss fight was not great because Pineleaf was actually one of the people that died in that poll.
First to die.
Well, 2 of you got taken out right at the start.
Yeah, right at the start. Yeah, first thing I say, all right, I'm in tanking stance. How did I get one shot?
Yeah, it was very strange. So we ended up failing it and kind of wasted the whole point of skirmishing.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is why I do Storm on Methodress, because it's harder to fail that one. Yeah, and that's been my couple weeks in Lotro. Where? How about you?
Well, last Sunday on Girls, I watched some of the bosses in the Great Barrows get beaten by a pretzel. It was a fascinating tale, and I think Sanswinda is going to talk about it more, but it was very hilarious. I also enjoy just anytime I'm running with the girls, it's always a good time. I did spend some time in the Lowlands with my High Elf Runekeeper and cleared some class deeds. That was in assistance with a dwarf hunter that we also will probably hear about. And Gorindus and the captain have been in the war this week, and it is intense. And I don't mean like Elder Slades and the question you guys have been doing so far, the missions. There's a phase where you're on the same map, but it is during wartime, and it is intense. And there's this noxious gas that, I mean, I'm sorry, I know too much of Tolkien and the First World War. There are trenches. There's this yellow gas. All I can think is mustard gas. But for like me wearing medium armor, it just starts knocking down my morale instantly. Anyway, I just had to keep an eye on it and try to get through it to the other side, and then figure out, there are like some things you have to pick up in it. Do it really quick, in and out of the pool. The captain, having heavy armor, was staying in because he wasn't getting hit as much on the morale, but his character started throwing up. So watch out for this noxious gas, because it's a thing. Anyway, Sanswinda, what did you get up to this week?
Well, Falafel, the metalsmith guardian, discovered that he is not much of a baker at the festival this week. But the pretzel he made is a wonderful weapon. So he went around rounding up as many mobs as possible and bashed them all on the head. Yeah, cosmetically wielding the pretzel, especially as a stout axe dwarf, is really kind of awesome. Especially when you point it and shout at people here's the pretzel recipe, or make sure you eat pretzels, or don't eat pretzels. I don't know what he actually told them.
Now, I presume that this is a classic pretzel in that classic pretzel shape, rather than one of those straight pretzels.
It's in a classic pretzel shape.
Okay.
And yeah, he's got a pretty good hold on it. And he can't put it down. He'll, after he gets out of combat, he goes and acts like he's gonna sheath it, and then comes up wielding it again. So, it's pretty great. And the pretzel as weapon is highly recommended. Just make sure it's pretty sturdy, though, especially if you are short enough to end up taking some swims while riding your steed across rivers and things, because it doesn't always go well, but I think he must have put some metal into his on purpose or accident, because it's holding up pretty nicely, so. My new dwarf hunter made it to the Forsaken Inn following the epic, all the way from the prologue. I didn't get off the epic even once, actually, and I'm pretty proud of myself, so thanks, Square.
My pleasure.
And I actually finished up a ton of deeds on my way there. Pretty much all of Erdlun. So, a good exercise in stick-to-itiveness. And fun. Ready for the Forsaken Inn Tier 2. Soon.
Does that mean that you... But you did at least do the side quests that were at the locations where the epic was, right?
A lot of them? I didn't in Bree, but I did a lot of them in Erdlun, and I did the Candiaths. So.
Okay.
So,
yeah, we did.
I've got a decent level. He's actually undying, and I'm pretty impressed, because there were a few, interesting episodes. But
you were impressed. There's a reason why my runekeeper's runestone is lightning runestone is named Thou Shalt Not.
Yes.
Trying to keep him alive.
The High Elf RK was very helpful in the staying alive department. And I did some more festivaling and questing on other alts, with one of my high elf hunters dinging 120 while doing in an ale league deliveries for Starlit Crystals. So that was pretty fun. How was your week, Pineleaf?
I'll begin with my main warden, who completed the deed to complete all 80 missions. That's my second character to complete all 80 missions. My low-level warden completed another mission rep level. And on Friday Night Fight, we ran skirmishes with 5 characters. First off, we ran Thievery and Mischief at Tier 1. Someone there thought, oh, that was easy enough. We completed that without any trouble. Let's try Tier 2. Now, I don't consider running Tier 2 skirmishes with 5 to be completely responsible. And at first, everything looked nice and wonderful and brilliant until we came to the boss fight. First attempt at the boss fight, we got Rose down, and then things turned sour. After that, each time we tried it again, it got worse and worse. So after 3 tries, we said, all right, that's it. No more Tier 2 and Thievery and Mischief. So we went and ran Defense of the Prancing Pony back at Tier 1 so that we could end the evening on a high note. We currently have 14 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious raid of players and help support Lotro players, you can go to the donations page. You can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money would be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. If you would like to support us without joining Patreon, you can contact Drac at email drac@lotraplayers.com. We did not receive any emails, so if you would like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@lotraplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. Players Alliance at Players Ally, Lotra Players at Lotra Players, Arendis at Arendis, Polyf at Polyf Needles, Sandwinda at Sandwinda, Terryadwin at Terryadwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, and Calabathian at Calabathian. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, but please note that DDO Players News will be mostly on hiatus for the rest of November, except for one special show, which we expect to be sometime around next week. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have the Loach Players News. You can store us for our shows at loachplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Polyp Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.